Broad Street Sports, the best Philly sports podcast.
Well, the Eagles won the football game, but it genuinely felt like the worst possible football game ever. The Eagles came in off the bye, and again it looked like and felt like they were unprepared. Didn't want to be there. There was a lot of issues in the first half, but in the second half it felt like they kind of cleaned it up. But there was a lot of problems. Again, special teams. We got another blocked kick. Special teams is having a hard time. You have your head coach screaming and yelling back at fans after you won the football game. Again, your offensive coordinator starting the game with play calls that are 4 verticals and Hail Mary to start the game and early 3 and outs. The coaching staff and the team came in unprepared against the worst football team in the league. This is a problem, folks. It's a serious problem when you think about it. You know, I didn't think the team played okay. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. But to be honest, I did not have high expectations. My expectations weren't high, so I was not let down in any way, shape, or form at all, quite frankly. I knew this was how this team was going to come in and play. I knew this was how it was going to be. Absolutely, I knew it was going to be like this. I thought it was going to be worse. I actually thought that the Eagles were going to lose to the Browns this week. Fortunately, they didn't. Oh, that would have been brutal. Fortunately, they did not. The first half, it was really shaky. I mean, the offensive play calls were terrible. Nick Sirianni, I mean, his game management, again, it feels like we're always talking about this guy's game management. Whatever. Did not really run the ball with Shaquan. So, whatever. I mean, when you look at this defense, I didn't think the defense played atrocious tonight. I thought the defense played okay. There was definitely a lot of breakdowns and a lot of holes. The coverage was mediocre. I thought C.J. Gardner-Johnson played terrible again. He messed up the interception play with Quinyon Mitchell. I don't know why he was covering David Njoku, but he could not stop Njoku. He couldn't get a tackle. It is what it is. All he does is talk, run his mouth and talk, and he never, ever backs it up on the field. But all in all, I felt like the defense played okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible, but they only gave up, 9 points, and it was a couple field goals. The touchdown wasn't even their fault. It was a special teams breakdown. So the defense played okay. Still a lot of missed tackles. A lot of guys just not where they need to be in coverage. All things that can be worked on. It felt like a upgrade from what we have saw, at least from the defensive side of the football. They got some pressure on Watson. Obviously, the Cleveland Browns offensive line is not great. It is not good. So I thought that they were going to get to Deshaun Watson more and get to him and sack him a lot more and put pressure on him. They didn't, but they did get a couple sacks. It did put a lot of pressure on him, and Deshaun Watson did not play to the best of his ability tonight. Trust me. Then on top of that, I did not think that Jalen Hurts played terrible. I thought Jalen Hurts played okay. It wasn't great, and it wasn't bad. He started the first half. He started the game really shaky, overthrowing a couple guys on screen plays, not being able to read the defense, getting sacked. So first half, he didn't look good. But the second half, he came out, and he looked great. And then on top of that, I wouldn't say he looked great. But he did look. He looked good. He looked good to start. So here's the thing. Jalen Hurts did not play great, but he did not play bad either. I thought he played pretty mediocre. And here's the thing. This was his best football game of the entire season, which shows how bad all the rest of his games were. But he played okay tonight. I thought a couple of his deep balls were good. He underthrew AJ on both of them, just a tad. Not crazy amount, but just a tad. He still got the ball there. But other than that, I thought that he cleaned up a lot of things in the second half. He was able to find the open receiver. He was escaping out of the pocket. But it's still not the Jalen Hurts that he has to be. But then when I really look at it and I think about it, it was okay because there was no turnovers from Jalen Hurts. Not a fumble, not an interception. He protected the ball well, which was things that I personally attacked and on the fan base attacked Jalen Hurts on was his turnovers. And trust me, his turnover, that was one of the better games we could have seen out of Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts has not been good. Trust me. But it is what it is. My main problem tonight was with the coaching staff. My main problem tonight was with the coaching staff. You came in off a bye week and you had no offensive or defensive game plan. Here's the thing. You're playing the worst team in the league, and you did not blow them out. You only beat them by 4 points. You beat the worst team in the league by 4 points. I mean, I thought Kellen Moore's offensive game plan was terrible. I thought all around, the whole entire game, it was terrible. It got a little bit better in the second half, but still terrible. Nick Sirianni, his game management was terrible. You know, the coaching staff does not ever put this team in the right situation, the right path to actually win the ball game. It feels like they just throw the team out there and tell the team to do whatever they have to do to win the ball game. That's not what the coaches' jobs are. That's not what the coaches have to do. And I didn't think that they put the Eagles in the right situation tonight. They definitely did not have a serious game plan. And that's what bothered me. You're coming in off a bye week. You had 2 weeks to game plan for the worst team in the league, and you came in with no utter game plan. You just threw the team out there. And they looked unprepared. The team looked unprepared. It looked like they didn't want to be there. It looked like the Eagles just didn't practice anything. Whatever, man. Whatever. Kellen Moore. This guy. Let me tell you something about this guy. Kellen Moore is nothing better than Brian Johnson. The Eagles brought Kellen Moore in to change the offense, but the offense looks exactly the same. We have Saquon Barkley as our starting running back, and we barely use him because we would rather run QB draws with our quarterback Jalen Hurts instead of pounding the run with a top 3 running back in the National Football League. That's what we would rather do. And then we would rather start the game with 4 verticals and Hail Marys and early 3 and outs than running the ball and tiring out the defense. Kellen Moore, his game plan, he hasn't had a game plan the entire year besides week 1 against Green Bay. He has been terrible. He's been terrible, and I got to be honest, he is nothing. It literally looks like the same exact offense that we had with Brian Johnson. It's the same exact thing. Then on top of that, we have our head coach, Nick Sirianni, who has already had a lot of problems and a lot of beef with this team and who ultimately should be fired. Now we have him to go after the Eagles barely squeaked by beating the worst team in the league, and he's screaming and cussing out fans. What is this guy doing? He's immature. What's he doing? He can't seriously be thinking in his head that it's a good idea to be screaming at fans. We already don't think highly of him. When the organization is about to fire this guy, does he really think that it's the best possible way the best thing for him to do is to scream and cuss out the fans and get in an argument with the fans? Where is this guy's head? The guy's clueless. The guy is clueless. The team, the 53-man roster and the other coaches, they look at this guy and they think he's nuts. That there's no way that this team and Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman can sit here and say, this guy can seriously lead us. He's arguing with fans at all times. He's always arguing with people. He's always trying to be Mr. Tough Guy. I'm over Sirianni. Sirianni almost lost to the worst team in the league. It should have been a blowout win, and they didn't. It was a disgrace. It was a disgrace. I mean, it was a disgrace. I don't want to go away from the positives of tonight because there actually was some positives. I thought that they actually made adjustments at halftime because coming out of halftime they looked a little bit better. Other than that, The defense played okay. Not the greatest, but definitely did what they had to do. The offensive line did what they had to do. It felt good to have A.J. Brown and Devontae back. But, I mean, really, the downfall of this team, at least tonight and the entire year, but, I mean, when you think about the entire year, I add in Jalen Hurts. But when you think about tonight and the entire year, it always comes down to the coaching. Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore always getting out-managed, always getting out-game planned. And they're setting this Eagles team up for a disaster. But it's all right. It is what it is. We somehow, some way escape with a win. It's all right. We got the Giants next week. I mean, there was some positives on tonight. Not everything was bad, but still just not the best possible win. Not good against the worst team in the league. But thank you all for tuning in. I love and appreciate every single one of you.